Hi, and welcome to Sweet Bee. This is our live stream series here at Professor B Studios, highlighting artists in and around our area. I'm Mike Bennett, and we're here in downtown Winston-Salem, and I have the absolute pleasure this evening to sit down with someone who I have not only gotten to know better lately, but have shared a stage with, swapped stories, and copious amounts of barbecue at one point. And I really want to get into this, so I don't want to spend too much time on the setup. So if you'll please help me welcome to the show, Brett Thompson. Brett, thanks for being here, man.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Good.
Nervous-sided.
Oh, well, that's okay. I want to start with something recent that is near and dear to my heart, and I want you to help me help other people understand this.
Okay.
You're recently back from a West Coast trip.
Yeah.
What was it like to stand in the Dodger Stadium?
Oh, my God.
And how can you help people who don't get that adoration? Like, what's the parallel feeling to make people understand what you felt when you got to stand there?
A parallel feeling. Not the birth of maybe the birth of your third child. Is maybe the feeling.
Okay.
First child is just up there all
Right,
the way.
right,
Second
right.
child is up there, pretty good too. But
Yeah.
man, it was my first trip to the West Coast.
Right.
First trip to LA. I've been a Dodgers fan all my life since I was a little kid. I grew up in near Vero Beach, Florida, where
Right.
they used to do spring
Yes.
training. So the Dodgers have always been my team, and I found out they had a tour of the stadium, and it's $20, and you get to go in the dugout, you get to
just
go
go
in
for
I mean, everywhere.
Yeah.
It was amazing,
And
I
you
love the city too.
ran across something from an old friend while you were there, if I saw correctly.
Yeah, so I played baseball as
Right.
a kid. My dad managed our teams, and we had a guy on our team named Charles Johnson who was catcher, and he was on our team for a couple of years. And so I'm walking through the trophy section in Dodger Stadium, and he won a Golden Glove playing for the Dodgers. He won a World Series with the Marlins.
Right.
And then he won a Gold Glove with the Dodgers, and I saw him there. I'm like, I know that guy. That was pretty cool.
So, okay, so I mean,
Yeah.
because I could keep asking questions about
Yeah,
that
yeah.
trip, but we want to get to other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What had you out on the West Coast?
So Lauren Light, who we both know and play for,
Yes.
was a part of a college activities board conference where we go showcase what we do, and then hopefully they book us to come play their
Okay,
colleges.
gotcha.
So
Okay, that's
we've been doing that for a couple of years now,
Yeah.
and it's fun stuff.
so you've affectionately, and I don't know if this is an industry term or not. I've only ever heard you use it.
Okay.
And so I'm going to use it to quote you, and I want to make sure that that's clear because I don't want any kind of misconceptions
Okay.
about me calling you anything.
Okay.
But you have referred to yourself as a side guy.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so I know that you have played, written, and recorded with a multitude of artists,
Yeah.
and I keep finding more on the list.
Yeah.
So going from writing and studio stuff, how does that and kind of being a gun for hire as a guitarist differ from being a side guy? Like what's that distinction about?
I think it's about what responsibility you have to not always take the creative liberties with somebody else's stuff, but you can only go so far. And then part of being a side guy too is just being a support system.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of the role that is included with that too, especially when touring and playing shows, is you want to be moral, emotional, physical support for whatever artist you're playing for. Basically, you want to add as much value to what they're doing as you can as
Okay.
a side guy.
Yeah, that's well said.
That's how I try to approach it anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Years later, you're still doing it, so
Still
I guess
doing it,
it's
yeah.
I guess it's working. Now, I mentioned the writing and some of the creative process with other people, and then you've got these support roles and doing this thing, but you also have a solo career and a project and an EP that's upcoming. So kind of a two-part question.
Yeah.
How are things going? But then also, as this is your first stab into that, having been a co-writer and part of other groups and part of other tours and been a side guy, how much of that did you bring into the project? Or was it more of this is something completely separate and I want it to intentionally be that? How did that kind of work out?
I think I kind of intentionally want it to be separate.
Mm.
I don't know. Music to me is, if nothing, it is community. That to me, and that's why I love
Yeah.
what you do here,
Yeah.
and
Well, thank you.
because that's what it's about. It's about relationship, and the relationship is different because co-writing with somebody is a different relationship than saying what you have to say that somebody else can come alongside of. And you hope you do that in a co-write. But for me, anyway, I didn't start writing songs of my own until about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very slow, and it's been a learning curve and that whole thing. I've had some
Sure.
people come alongside that are very, very helpful. But the first song that I wrote was just, it just kind of started coming out. And then as I read it, it was, maybe this is something that somebody needs to hear. Mm. So, I mean, I call my style like inspirational Americana, because I try to just, I try to say something that is needed in the world, hopefully.
I read
maybe.
somewhere, and I can't remember if this was on a post or your website or where it was, but somewhere you referred to yourself as a hope peddler.
Hope peddler, yeah.
How does that, where did that come from, and kind of what is that? I assume it plays kind of into that same idea.
I think it comes from writing really sad songs that you have to end hopeful so that they're not so sad.
Fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
I try to do it that way.
Yeah.
You know, taking important subjects in life and hopefully interjecting some hope or some light at the end of the tunnel for people. Yeah.
So, Inspirational Americana, Hope Peddler, first solo EP. Is there an overarching storyline or message or something, or are they individual pieces? And if there is one that kind of sits over top of all of them, any chance at a sneak peek of what it is?
Well, I'm still trying to figure that out.
Okay. Well, and that goes to the other question, is kind of, how's it going, kind of where are you at in the process?
It's going slow.
Yeah.
Which is okay, because like we talked about before we started live tonight, I'm not in the hustle, the artist hustle. I'm not, like, I'm super shocked that I'm here because, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I'm not pushing a thing. I'm not pushing a vibe or anything like. I'm just trying to be myself and engage in writing in order to build community.
Yeah.
That's really why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I dipped my foot in the water of it enough and got enough feedback from people to say maybe I should keep going, and then maybe I should keep going a little more.
Okay.
Maybe I should do so. The EP will come along.
Sure.
The overarching kind of theme of the EP will be kind of that hope peddling thing.
Yeah.
Taking maybe a sad situation and finding the hope in it. So that's kind of going to be
Okay.
the overarching thing, but not intentionally. It's
Right.
just it's what's coming out.
Yeah,
So.
and I think there's an authentic, if I may say so, about a project that I haven't heard all of yet. I heard the demo track, and we've talked some.
Yeah.
But there's an authenticity to that I think, and even just getting to know you and sharing a stage with you and that kind of thing, that is going to come out. And I think if you were to fight it coming out, it would affect the product. Like I think I think it would fall short if it was anything but where you're at right now, and like I don't know that you have it in you to not be that, if that makes sense.
No, I'm no more principled than anybody else, but I just.
Well, I wasn't trying to put you on too much of a pedestal.
No.
I was just saying.
But I just don't. If it's not authentic, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
I don't see why anybody else would be either.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
And ultimately, while I'm not like super hustling to be an artist, I would like to be the best songwriter I can be. And really, what that means is people want to listen to my songs.
Okay, so how? And I don't know if we've ever had anybody talk about this on the show. How do you flex that muscle? How do you, other than just writing, because I can sit down with a pen and paper and throw words at a page, doesn't make me a songwriter. How do you flex the muscle, and how do you, beyond knowing that people want to hear what you're doing, because I think part of that could be good writing, part of it could be interpersonal and relationship and stuff. So how do you gauge I'm progressing as a songwriter? As you talk about wanting to be a better one, like how do you?
I think
how do you hold yourself accountable to that?
You gotta let people hear your songs.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to do. It was super hard. It's still really hard for me to do.
Really?
Yeah, it's really hard for me to. And I have a few people that I kind of respect their songwriting, and they're part of my community and my tribe. So I listen to them. And I think you got to have that. You got to have somebody who's going to tell you when something's falling short or when something is good.
Yeah.
And mostly it's been pretty good. So
okay. No, that's good. That's good. How do you hear? I won't say criticism, but responses to that. How do you hear that different from people who write versus people who consume or maybe just play? I don't want to say just play, but people who don't write, basically. Do you hear that feedback differently? And not a better or worse, but does it mean something different when it's from someone who has walked that line?
From a trade perspective, I think you listen to people who know the trade well and go, you could do it differently this way and it would be better. But you don't discount anything on the other side either, because let's be honest, there's songs that are incredibly huge that aren't necessarily the most well-crafted songs.
Yes.
But people enjoy them and get something out of them, and there's nothing wrong with that.
So in this idea of kind of the creation process and stuff, I didn't know this when we first met, and then at one point you said something during a rehearsal that we were doing here that tipped me off, and I actually went and I asked Lauren. I was like, okay, I need to know. You're also an engineer, and not just an engineer, but one who actually went to school for it, and like you kind of got a bit of the pedigree and the experience and stuff. So, another two-parter. As a musician who's also an engineer, when you go to do a show, what is something, and I could think of specific examples. I don't want you to quote any specific examples because we don't know who's watching, but what are things from the tech side that when you walk up and you get ready to go, are there things that you see that you're like, this is going to be a good night? And then are there things that you see, not things that happen, but are there things that you see that you kind of go, we're rolling the dice?
Yeah.
Is there, and I'll give you one example as you're thinking of your answer. The thing that tipped me off to it was we were in here once. You were like, I always, when I'm working with somebody for the first time, I always walk over and I check the kick mic.
Yeah.
And if it's locked in, if it's not loose, I feel like we're off to a good start.
Yeah, I mean, those little things are really important, how quickly those guys are trying to get you ready, because to me, maybe I have a better perspective as a musician and an engineer.
Which is why I'm asking.
Is I, as an engineer, on the engineering side, I want those artists to be as comfortable as possible and not be thinking about me at all.
Right.
Which means I got to have my stuff done and ready when they get on the stage, so we're not fumbling around or even on the stage with them. Those are things like if there's a sound guy on the stage with you doing sound check and doing cables and things like that, it's like this might be rough.
Gotcha.
But if everything's laid out,
and so if you can just come in and you're like, we're hopefully going to be in for a good night. Okay. All right. Cool. I've got a couple more, but I also want to make sure we have time for the stories and the music that they're going to have on the stage. So what I'd like to do now, if you could let everybody know, I know we don't have a date for the EP, but kind of send them like website, social medias, that kind of stuff, but not just the EP, like any shows that you may end up posting, anything that you've got going on. Where can people find you online? Where can they follow you on social medias, that kind of stuff? Kind of where can we send people during the break to go bookmark some pages and throw you some likes and stuff?
Hopefully all the social medias, Brett Morgan Thompson on Instagram. You can look up Brett Morgan Thompson Music on Facebook, and that'll get you there, and brettmorganthompson.com.
Easy to remember.
So try to keep it simple. But I'll have updates as far as those things going on. I have no date for the EP. I'm just going at it slowly, trying to just collect more and more songs. I'm a very slow songwriter. And I have to, from the songwriter / musician perspective, I feel like the songs get crafted better and better when you play them out and you play them live and you get in front of people. Because there's a song I'm going to do tonight that I don't think anybody else had heard it, and I did it at a house show in Connecticut a couple of weeks ago. And I really hadn't thought that the song was that meaningful, and everybody was like teary-eyed and coming up to me afterwards and saying how good of a song it was. And so that's very motivational to go,
Yeah.
I need to get it done.
That's cool. That's very
So I will get it done
yeah.
at some point.
Okay. Awesome. We're going to take a really quick break, and we'll be right back with some music with Brett.
Hey, welcome back to Sweet Bee. I'm Brett Morgan Thompson, and I'm glad to be here. I'm with my friends. This is Amanda Strayer going to join me on some vocals, and Jeff Ayers on the drums. I've known both of these friends for a long time. I'm glad they're with me. I'm going to do this song. I talked about it in the interview a little bit. It's called Branches. And it really came out of my wife and I have adopted 2 boys. And it's a long and difficult process. And we did fostering to adopt. And this is National Adoption Month in November. And so I thought it'd be appropriate to play this song that I kind of wrote about just them, just my boys being adopted, and the thought process behind it was just, when like all of us have a family tree, and you can picture that, and some of us even have that in our homes, maybe a family tree, and but for my boys, they had to be grafted into our tree. They had to come from somewhere else, and they be kind of grafted in. So that's why this song is called Branches. Rockabye, baby, on St. Patrick's Day. The bough had broken, but we did not let you slip away. The tree that we had planted was there to catch your fall. So rest in its branches, cradle and all. You are planted firm, this love can never change. It was there from the beginning, as your branches rearranged. I pray as we grow, no questions would remain. It's not blood that makes a family, it's a slow and soft refrain. It's love that broke the fall from your branches. Another year later, an unexpected wind. We reached up to catch you and gently brought you in. You never had to be afraid of falling to the ground, 'cause we were waiting for you, and now you have been found. 'Cause you are planted firm, this love can never change. It was there from the beginning, as your branches rearranged. And I pray as we grow, no questions would remain. It's not blood that makes a family, it's a slow and soft refrain. And it's love that broke the fall from your branches. As seasons come and seasons go, your branches bear the fruit of hope. As seasons come and seasons go, your branches bear the fruit of hope. As seasons come and seasons go, your branches bear the fruit of hope. As seasons branches bear the fruit of hope. You are planted firm. This love can never change. It was there from the beginning as your branches rearranged. I pray as we grow, no questions will remain. It's not blood that makes a family, it's a slow and soft refrain. It's love that broke the fall. It's love that broke the fall. It's love that broke the fall from your branches. All right. Thank you. So that's Branches. This next song that I'll do is a song that, and I'm learning as a songwriter, kind of trying to learn what works for me, and I think there's different paths for different songwriters and how things kind of come out. For me, it seems like anyway that I'll start writing a song and then realize that I'm writing a song, so it just kind of starts coming out. And then I form it into something, and that's kind of how this one went. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, couldn't sleep, and my daughter was at the time getting ready to move to Florida to be in the Disney intern program down there, and so she was going to be gone for a while, and that was my firstborn, and so I had some anxiety about it, and I knew that she probably had some anxiety about it too, moving away for the first time, and so I didn't even have that thought, though, until really the song was mostly done. I'm like, oh, that's about this situation. And kind of what I would like to say to her, and we can apply it. You can apply it to anybody or anything you want to. When you hear the song, you'll understand that. But just what needs to be said to somebody who's kind of stepping out and maybe anxious. And hopefully this is hope peddling for people that are in that situation. This is called Hold It Together. Don't you know it ain't over till it's over? The last pitch, it sails across the plate. Life's not kind, but it don't matter what's been done to you. In every valley there's another hill to climb. The thing you thought you'd lost is never gone. Time you left behind you is not worth holding on to. So just be brave, 'cause there is nothing that can hurt you so badly that you can't recuperate. Don't be lonely, 'cause you are never far from home, even when it feels a million miles away. The thing you thought you'd lost is never gone. The time you left behind you is not worth holding on to. 'Cause clarity calls you home, remind you you're not alone. Just look for the light in the here and now. Try to hold it together somehow. clear your mind and give grace to those around you and love the ones you meet along the way. This is your time, 'cause we are not around forever, so make it count no matter what it takes. Just make it count no matter what it takes. There you go.
Man, thanks again so much for being on the show.
you.
Thank you guys. That was
Thank
beautifully
you.
played. These guys
Thank you
sound
very
great.
much.
As we wrap up, I mean, still got those questions I wanted to ask, but I don't want to drag. Let everybody know one more time, just kind of where can they find you, website, socials, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just Brett Morgan Thompson on Instagram, Brett Morgan Thompson Music on Facebook, BrettMorganThompson.com.
Yeah, there you go.
My name comes in really handy.
Right, I know.
Who knew?
It's everywhere. It's something to be said for consistency. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you go and follow this guy's music. He's starting this project, but this ongoing thing in this journey, and hopefully more opportunities to hear some of this stuff live as it unfolds, and who knows, maybe you'll be part of that process. So thanks again for watching. We'll be back in a couple weeks. You guys have a great night.
Thank you.
Man, thanks again so much.